Gen Z people should not be cops because my friend recently became one and now I'm terrified for the future. Because he was telling me about his job and he was like, yeah, I pulled this guy over and he was acting hella sus, so I gave him a ticket. First of all, did you just call a person you pulled over sus? Dog, this is not Among Us. But it gets worse because he asked the person he pulled over for their license, and right when they gave it to him, he said he accidentally laughed. So I was like, why'd you do that? And he said it was because the name on the license of the person he pulled over was Bartholomew. So I was like, bro, you can't laugh at someone's name when you're a cop? Like, you're telling me that from now on, if I ever get pulled over, I have to worry about getting a ticket and getting roasted by the cop? We are so doomed. If you're ever choking, do not ask me for help. Because last night, I was at dinner with some friends and the person next to me started choking. So I panicked because I didn't want him to pass away. So I pulled him out of his chair and tried giving him the Heimlich, but I never learned how to do the Heimlich, so I was just trying my best, and eventually he spit the food out, so I thought he would have been really grateful and thanked me for saving him. But no, instead, he was like, why did you do that? And I was like, what do you mean? I was helping you. And he said, no, you weren't. You were basically just punching me in the stomach. So I was like, oh yeah? Well then how did you get the food out, huh? And he said he swallowed part of it, so he was just able to cough the rest of it out. So from now on, I'm saving myself the embarrassment and letting people give themselves the Heimlich if they're choking. Nobody talks about how hard it is to tell if a girl is flirting with you or just being nice. Because when I talk to a girl, I just automatically assume that they don't like me. So whenever they're actually flirting, I never notice it. Like one time, I was sitting down at a coffee shop, but all the other tables were taken. So this girl asks if she could sit at my table, and I say yes, but then she looks at my coffee and sees that I got a cold brew with oat milk. So then she's like, oh my gosh, that's the exact coffee I get. Do you think it was fate that we met? And I was like, nah, cold brew with oat milk is like literally the most popular way to order a coffee. Then she said, yeah, I guess you're right. Are you getting a coffee for your girlfriend too? And I told her I don't have one, but right as she was about to respond, I said, I should probably get going because I have work. So then I leave and I'm in my car driving home and suddenly it hits me and I'm like, wait, was she flirting with me? I still don't know because I've thought girls were flirting with me before, so I would flirt back and then they would be like, no. So I never know what to do. Why does British food always look so bad? Because I just saw a video where this British guy was showing off his dinner and it looked like it came straight out of an easy bake oven. Like he was naming the food on his plate and one of them was called black pudding, which looked like a hockey puck. So I already thought it was gross, but then it got even worse because he was like, nah, this is called black pudding, which is made out of pig's blood. It's made out of what? You're choosing to eat pig's blood? I was genuinely concerned that someone was holding this guy captive and forcing him to eat this. But no, most British people choose to eat like this. And I get it. In America, our Fanta looks radioactive and all of our food is super unhealthy. But at least it tastes good. Because don't get me wrong, I love British culture, but when it comes to food, what are they doing over there? It's like they're in a Saw movie and eating this food is one of the challenges. Oh, and don't even get me started with beans on toast. That has to be a prank. Oh, you think girls have it harder than guys? Well, one time I was on a hike by myself and I see these girls like 20 yards in front of me scream and then stare at something on the ground. So as I get closer, I realized they were looking at a snake, but they were afraid to walk past it because the path was pretty narrow and they didn't want the snake to bite them. So when I got there, they asked me if I could move the snake and I was like, are you kidding me? That thing could be poisonous. And they were like, yeah, but you're a man, you can do it. So then I said, I'm probably more scared of snakes than you guys are. Besides Jojo Siwa, snakes are literally my biggest fear. So I just tried making any excuse possible to not move that snake. I was like, well, I'm actually allergic to poisonous snakes. And the girl was like, yeah, no duh, everyone is allergic to poison. So eventually, I just had to man up and I got a really long stick and flung that thing off the path. Honestly, girls do probably still have it harder than us, but still, I'm scared of snakes too. Why are people vegans? Because I have a friend that's vegan and every time I eat with him, he looks like he wants to throw up because of how bad the vegan food is. So I asked him why he's even vegan in the first place if he doesn't like the food. And he said, it's because I care about the animals and want them to live. Well, that can't be true because you're the one eating all their food now. And then he was like, well, I just feel guilty knowing that an animal was sacrificed just so I could eat it. But like, if you don't eat the animal, then it was sacrificed for nothing. You should feel guilty about that. Do vegans not understand that once the meat is in the grocery store, that animal is not coming back to life? Because I'm sorry, but I don't think you can revive a cow after it's already been turned into a Big Mac. And to any vegan who is like, well, if I don't eat meat, then less animals will be used for food. All I have to say to you is that's not true because I've been eating double the amount of meat lately. Wait, pause. This is your warning to never be friends with short people. Because I used to have a roommate that was super short, and on the first day we moved in together, he went to the store and bought a bunch of food, but he left all of his groceries on the counter when he got home because he had to go to work. So he texted me asking if I could put them away, and I was like, yeah, do you care where I put them? And he was like, no, just put them wherever there's space. But this was a big mistake because a couple months later, I go into the kitchen one morning, but something smelled weird. So I start looking around trying to find what it is. I open one of the cabinets and find a bunch of potatoes with this gross white goo on them. Now I've never bought potatoes, so I knew they were my roommates, and I asked him why he didn't eat them, but he was like, I was looking for those forever, but I couldn't find them because you put them in the very top cabinet where I can't reach it. So honestly, It was my fault, but still, we need to put a ladder in the kitchen or something. Why did all the coolest things happen whenever you missed a day of school? Because one time, I was super sick, so I didn't want to go to school. And I sent a picture to my friends of me laying in bed at like 10 a.m. and said, haha, you guys have to go to school while I'm playing video games. But I was not prepared for what my friend's response was gonna be, because he replied by sending me a selfie of him with Shaq inside our classroom. So I responded and was like, please tell me why Shaq is standing inside my math class right now. And he said apparently our school had the best grades in the state or something. So Shaq came to congratulate us and they had a bunch of free food and everything. Like, I had good grades too. I deserved to see Shaq. So the next day when I show up to school, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they'll have something really cool today also. But no. The first moment I walk into class, the teacher goes, okay guys, I know everyone had a lot of fun yesterday, but today we have a pop quiz. Why? Like, why do I never miss these days of school? Have you ever had a friend that's always grounded? And it's usually for the most ridiculous reasons too. Like, I have one friend that's a triplet, so he has two brothers that look exactly like him. And one time, when we were younger, one of these brothers was saying mean things to another kid at school. So this kid went to the teacher and told on him to get him in trouble. But the only problem was that this kid got the triplets confused, and he ended up telling on my friend who had nothing to do with it. So the teacher called my friend's parents to tell them what happened, and when he got home from school that day, his mom was super angry and he had no idea why, so she grounded him. But the brother who actually did it just never admitted it until last year because he didn't want to get in trouble. Honestly, I can't blame him. I probably would have done the same thing. The most embarrassing thing you could possibly do at a restaurant is not knowing how to pronounce a dish correctly. Because the first time I ever ate at a Vietnamese restaurant, I saw people at the table next to me eating soup. So I was like, dang, that looks really good. I want to order that. So I look in the soup section of the menu and there was only one option, so I knew it was that one. But when the waiter came and asked what I wanted to eat, with all the confidence in the world, I said, I'll have the pho, please. And he goes, you want the what? And I say, the pho. But he still doesn't understand, so eventually I just point to the thing I'm talking about and then he just laughs really hard and goes, my friend, it's called pho. I was so embarrassed. I should have just ordered the spring rolls. Why do people say they can't cook? Like, that doesn't even make sense. All you have to do is follow the directions that the recipe calls for. There's literally a movie about a rat being able to cook, but you can't do it. Obviously, if someone were to tell me to make a beef Wellington, I couldn't do it on the spot, but if you give me some directions, I could do it. Like, all you have to do is read. Add 1 cup of flour. Okay, add a cup of flour. How can you not do that? Does saying that you can't cook just mean that you can't like count or read? Because if you can read and count as good as like a 3-year-old, then there's no reason you shouldn't be able to understand how to add 1 dang cup of flour. Or the only exception I can see for people saying that they can't cook is if they burn their house down cooking. Yeah, you're right. You cannot cook, bro. But for everyone else that says it, do you not know how to cook, or do you just not want to cook? Nobody talks about the difference between how girls text versus guys. Because I got a new phone recently, but I lost all my contacts. So whenever someone would text me, I wouldn't know who it was because it just said their phone number and not their name. But I could still always tell whether it was a guy texting me or a girl. Because when it was a girl, they would use a lot more acronyms. Like, I got a text from a girl saying WYDTATG. And at first, I was just like, uh-oh, someone has spell check turned off on their phone. But no, it was just one of my friends that's a girl saying, what you doing tonight after the game? But when my guy friends text me, they just say the most random stuff for no reason. Like, I got a text out of the blue that said, I just dropped the loudest fart in the library. And I didn't even have to ask who sent the message. Right when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that's my homie Tom. Why are little kids so mean? Because I know a teacher that literally just quit her job because of how evil the kids were. But the scary part is, they're getting really creative. Like, she said one of the reasons she quit was because she would always bring a cup of coffee with her to school. But one day, she went to the bathroom during class, and when she came back, she took a sip of her coffee, but she immediately spit it out because it tasted really thick and weird. All the kids started laughing when she did this, as if they knew it was gonna happen. So she looked inside the cup, and you know what she saw? Dirt! Some kid put dirt in her coffee. She asked who did it, and everyone pointed to the same kid because they didn't want to get in trouble. So she took him out of class and had a talk with him. And he literally said he just took a handful of dirt from outside and poured it in her coffee. She asked him why he did it, and he said, because I felt like it. Yeah, that's a great reason. Like, these aren't even silly pranks anymore. That's just straight up trying to send your teacher to the emergency room. She said sometimes when she sneezes, she feels dirt come out of her nose. We're so cooked. This is your warning to never get a haircut if a girl tells you not to, because I liked this girl when I was in school and I was pretty sure she liked me back. But one day I decided that I wanted to get a buzz cut. So that's what I did. And the next day I go to school and I sat right next to this girl. So every day when I'd walk into class, she would look at me, smile, then ask how my day's going. But this time I walk into class and we make eye contact for a second and her smile immediately drops. So I sit down and during the whole class, she tries her hardest to not look at me. I even asked her a question about the schoolwork and she just answered without making eye contact with me. So I asked her why she was acting acting weird, and she said she just didn't expect me to get a haircut. But I knew she thought it was horrible because from this point on, she would never interact with me like she used to. So don't make the same mistake I did. Or do, honestly. It's probably just me because I look like a potato with a buzz cut. If you give a girl any information about a person, they will be able to find them, because one time I was at a basketball game with some friends and we took a group picture together, but I didn't look at the picture until the game was over. And once I did, I noticed a really pretty girl sitting in the background 2 rows behind us. So I was like, dang, I wish I saw her during the game so I could have talked to her. And I told my friend that's a girl about this, and she was like, oh, I'll help you find her. And I was like, thanks, but that's impossible. I don't know her name or anything about her. But she was like, no, I can do it. So I was like, yeah, right, whatever. But then about 3 hours later, I get a text and it's from her. But you know what's in the text? It's all the social media profiles of the girl from the game. I asked her how she found it, and the way she explained it made it sound like she was a detective. Unfortunately, it didn't matter because I DM'd the girl and she never answered. But hey, it's the thought that counts, right? Have you ever taken a lie so far that you just had to stick with it? Because I saw my friend's cat get hit by a car and pass away when we were little kids. Because we lived right next to each other, but he was at baseball practice when this happened, so he didn't know about it. So I just assumed his mom told him about it when he got home that night, but a couple days later, I went over to their house to hang out, and I saw an orange cat inside. So I was like, wait, you got a new cat already? And he goes, what do you mean? We've always had this cat. You know him. But I literally just saw that cat pass away a couple days ago, so I was super confused. But as I looked closer at the cat, something looked a little bit off. So I compared it to a picture in his room of his old cat, and it wasn't the same one. It was really similar, but the lines on his old cat were just a little bit different. So his mom must have just thought that it would be a better idea to get a completely new cat instead of telling him what really happened and breaking his heart. And I never told him this because I didn't feel like it was my place to. So either they literally replaced their old cat without telling him, or I just saw the first ghost cat ever. Why do people have such weird group chat names? Like, I don't think I've ever met a friend group that has a normal one. It's always gotta be something freaky. And I would know because I get added to a lot of random group chats from people that follow me, and they always have the most insane names. Like, tell me why the other day, my phone starts going off a bunch during class, so I check it, and I'm getting texts from Five Nights at Diddy's. My teacher sees me looking at my phone while she's teaching, so she's like, Tyler, why are you on your phone while I'm teaching? And what am I supposed to say back? Oh, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Smith. I'm just getting a bunch of texts from Five Nights at Diddy's right now. Please stop adding me to these group chats. Have you ever noticed that the most funny people are always the most sad? And you would never know it because I had a friend in school who literally could have been a comedian because he was literally the most funny person I've ever met. And I never saw this guy frown or get upset at school. But one day, I go into the bathroom during class and I hear someone crying in one of the stalls. So I look at their shoes and they're green, but I only knew one person who wore green shoes to school, and it was the funny friend. So I wait for him to come out of the stall and then ask him how he's doing. And he knew I saw him crying, so he couldn't lie to me anymore. So he was like, honestly, I'm not doing good at all. Apparently his parents were going through a divorce and it was really hard on him. But literally a couple hours ago, he was making everyone in class laugh. You would have never known what was going on in his personal life. So if you have a funny friend, make sure to check up on him. How can girls not tell when their friend has a crush on their boyfriend? Because I just saw a video this girl posted where her boyfriend and her best friend were playfully fighting. And I literally felt like I was interrupting something just by watching because you could tell they just wanted to make out the whole time. But the poor girlfriend is recording these videos behind the screen laughing as if it's some funny joke. No, girl, that friend of yours is in love with your man. And based off how your man was acting, he feels the exact same way. And I get it. I'm insecure, so I probably just think that everyone's cheating on me. But it gets to a point where it becomes so obvious that you can't miss it. Like, she was literally third wheeling, even though she's the one in the relationship. But the saddest part is, you can't even convince her that's the truth. You just have to wait until they inevitably break up. Nobody talks about how scary it is when you use the wrong humor with the wrong friend group. Because I have 2 friend groups, one from school and one that I played sports with, but they have very different senses of humor. My friends from school really find brain rot memes funny, but the other day, I was talking with the sports group, and one of the guys said he was gonna get a haircut, so he asked us for recommendations on what to get. And someone said, oh, you should get a low taper. So right after he said that, I sung, imagine if Ninja had a low taper fade. But right after I did that, they looked like they wanted to banish me from the friend group. So I was like, you guys don't know the Ninja low taper fade meme? It's massive. But none of them knew it because they actually have a life. So I was just sitting there embarrassed. I need to touch grass, man. Have you ever had a friend that just can't spell anything over text? Because there was this girl I was talking to, but she thought I didn't like her back because we would text and I would be like, hey, do you want to hang out? And she would respond with a sentence that would literally take me 20 minutes to read because she didn't spell anything correctly. So sometimes I just wouldn't respond because I didn't know what it said. And eventually she was like, why don't you ever respond to my texts? I don't know. Maybe it's because I can't read them. Like, I have a better chance of understanding someone speaking Japanese than understanding her text. And I don't speak Japanese. How do you expect me to read the word gorgeous when you spell it with 4 E's and an I? Like, at least give me a chance. I hate having a Gen Z teacher because one time, while she was in the middle of teaching, a couple of kids in the back of the classroom were talking. So she was like, guys, what is so important that you have to talk while I'm teaching? But then one of the girls answered and was like, Sarah and Ryan broke up. But instead of just continuing to teach after they said this, the teacher goes, good for Sarah. I thought they were a bad match anyway. And she literally said this while Sarah and Ryan were in the class. But a couple weeks later, the teacher tells us that we have a seating change. And you know what two people she put right next to each other? Sarah and Ryan. Like, this teacher literally loves drama and gossip more than the students. But also, since she just graduated a couple years ago, she knows that most students just use the internet to find answers for their homework. Cause during lunch one day, I asked her if she could help me with a problem from our classwork. And she said, no, not while I'm on my lunch break. Go look it up on Quizlet or something. That's what you guys do anyway. Like, can we just have robot teachers at this point? This is your warning to never be friends with a colorblind person. Cause one time, I went to go visit my colorblind friend, but he lives in another state. So he was at work when my flight arrived. So he said his girlfriend was gonna pick me up, but they just started dating. So I didn't know what she looked like. So I asked my friend what kind of car she would be picking me up in, and he says it's a green Honda. So my flight lands and I'm outside looking for a green Honda, but I don't see one. So after about 30 minutes, I call my friend and I'm like, hey, is your girlfriend here yet? So he calls her, then he's like, yeah, she says she's been waiting for you for like half an hour. Then I was like, well, is she at Terminal B where I'm at? And he said yes. So I tell him to ask her to honk her horn so I could see if I hear it. And she does it. And guess what? She was literally parked 50 feet in front of me the whole time. I just never saw her because my friend said to look for a green Honda, and what was she driving? A red one. This is my fault though, because this is the same guy who used to think that Rudolph was the green-nosed reindeer. Does anyone else get more jealous when your friend talks to another person than when your crush does? Like, what do you mean you have other friends beside me? Because I was scrolling through social media the other day and I see one of my friends post a story of them at a Bad Bunny concert. So I swipe up on it and I'm like, oh, did you go with your family to the concert? But they said, no, I went with some friends. So I start twitching a little bit and I'm like, well, if you were going with friends, why didn't you invite me? And he was like, Tyler, it was a Bad Bunny concert. You don't even like him. And I was like, what? I love Bad Bunny. Then he was like, Tyler, you don't even speak any Spanish. Stop acting like you listen to Bad Bunny. And he was right, but still, I would have liked an invite. That was part of the reason I get so upset because he's my only friend and I don't want to lose him. That's not the point. This is your warning to never take your friends to the aquarium. Because I took mine the other day and it went horrible because one of my friends is the type of guy to do really dumb stuff to make everyone else laugh. And there was a section in the aquarium with a big fish tank and one of the fish in it kept coming right up to the glass and looking at us. So my friend thought it would be funny to take a selfie with the fish. So that's what he did. But unfortunately, he left the flash on when he took the picture, and I think this did something weird to the fish because after he took it, the fish started to float vertically like this. But it wasn't moving. It was just floating. So at first we thought the fish just passed away, but then it started to move its tail a little bit, but it was still vertical. So I looked it up and apparently that's what fish do when they have bladder disease. So I don't know if my friend somehow gave a fish bladder disease with a selfie, but that's the best theory I got. Have you ever met someone whose face doesn't match their personality? Because there's this guy that always goes to the gym at the same time as me, and he's built like the Hulk. Like, he is terrifying, and he has an angry resting face, so I've never talked to him because of how intimidating he is. But one time, I was working out on the machine next to him, and after I finished my set, I feel someone tap on my shoulder, and it's this monster of a man. So I'm thinking, well, someone tell my family I love them. But then he opens his mouth and he's like, hey man, I saw you working out. You're crushing it. Do you think you could spot me for my bench press? So I took a big exhale and was thinking, wait, you didn't come over here because you're gonna eat me for extra protein? Because I expected him to act way more scary. But the most funny part is we started having a conversation and he told me he's a dentist. Like, imagine having The Rock as your dentist. I wouldn't be eating any candy. Why are dogs so awkward? Because I've had a dog for 5 years, so you would think he would be comfortable around me by now. But every night, me, my parents, and the dog watch TV together in the living room. But if my parents ever leave the room so it's just us two in there, the dog will literally look at me like this. It's like we're hanging out with a mutual friend, but then that friend leaves, so we're just stuck with each other. And you might be like, oh, well, maybe your dog just doesn't like you. But no, he's like this whenever he's alone with anyone. He's just awkward. And don't even think about making eye contact with him, because if you stare at him for too long, he gets super uncomfortable. Like, there's no way he's not a human inside a dog body. It's probably my fault though, because I bet he sees that I'm really awkward, and since I'm his owner, he just tries to copy me. Because that's how I look at people when we're alone together. Why do people say they can't cook? Like, that doesn't even make sense. All you have to do is follow the directions that the recipe calls for. There's literally a movie about a rat being able to cook, but you can't do it. Obviously, if someone were to tell me to make a beef Wellington, I couldn't do it on the spot. But if you give me some directions, I could do it. Like, all you have to do is read. Add 1 cup of flour. Okay, add a cup of flour. How can you not do that? Does saying that you can't cook just mean that you can't, like, count or read? Because if you can read and count as good as, like, a 3-year-old, then there's no reason you shouldn't be able to understand how to add 1 dang cup of flour. Or the only exception I can see for people saying that they can't cook is if they burned their house down cooking. Yeah, you're right. You cannot cook, bro. But for everyone else that says it, do you not know how to cook, or do you just not want to cook? I just made a little kid cry at Crumble Cookie because I was waiting in line, but right when it was my turn to order, one of the workers says, "Attention everybody, we only have 2 of the pumpkin roll cookies left." And after he said that, a little kid behind me who would have been next up to order goes, "Mom, there's 2 pumpkin cookies left. We made it just in time to get one." But little did this kid know, I wasn't just getting cookies for me. I was getting it for my roommates too. And they all wanted the pumpkin one. So the employee asks what I want, and I say, "I'll take 2 of your pumpkin roll cookies, please." But right when I say this, the kid starts screaming. No words, just screaming. So the mom picks him up and walks outside the door as fast as possible. So he didn't even get any cookies. But the most sad part was, I heard how excited the kid was for the pumpkin roll cookie. So after I ordered, I was gonna tell him he could have mine, thinking that would make his day. But I didn't even get a chance to because his mom took him out of the store before I could do it. And I totally understand why he crashed out like that over a cookie, because these are really good. Why are school drills so useless? Like when I was in high school, we would do drills where we would pretend there was a fire and we would all line up inside the classroom, but no one was allowed to leave until everyone lined up. And then we would walk in a single file line outside. Like, do teachers really think that if there was a fire, I would wait to get in a single file line and then walk outside? No! The moment I hear that fire alarm beep, I'm sprinting through the first door I can find. It'd be like this. Are the teachers trying to set us up or something? Because if we did what they told us to do during a fire, none of us would make it out. Why do people record themselves crying? Because I can't imagine a scenario where I got cheated on or something, and my first reaction is, "What? She cheated on me? No!" Wait, let me record this. No! But I'm not judging people who do this. I'm genuinely just trying to understand why they do it. One time I saw someone crying on their story, so I swiped up and said, "Why are you crying?" And she said she got fired from her job, so I replied saying, "I'm sorry to hear that, but why would you record this?" And she literally just told me that she records it for attention. My initial reaction was like, wow, that's shallow. But then I thought about it more and I was like, you know what? I respect her for just saying that. She just straight up said, yeah, I do it for attention. That's a good answer. So I'm guessing that's why most people do it, but if there's another reason, someone please tell me. I'm trying to understand. As a white person, when I go to a Mexican restaurant or a French cafe, I take pride in trying to perfectly announce the names of the dishes. Like I was eating Mexican food the other day, and when the waiter asked me what I wanted, I said, "Can I get a quesadilla y carne, please?" And at these types of food places, the workers are always people that come from that country. So this guy's got like a strong Spanish accent. And after I say that, he just looks at me and I could tell he was disappointed with me. Like I know he's just thinking, dude, just say quesadilla like all the other white people. But no, I respect other people's cultures. So if they pronounce it quesadilla y carne, I'm gonna say quesadilla y carne. And one day, I'm gonna pronounce it so good that they're gonna think I'm Mexican. One day. Quesadilla! What would you do if a little kid's mom accused you of kidnapping her son? Because that's what happened to me. So I was at the store just buying groceries, and a little kid comes up to me and says, "Hey, I watch your videos." So I was like, "Thanks, buddy, I appreciate that." But he was no older than like 7, and I looked around, but I didn't see any parents, so I asked him where they were. But right as I did that, his mom comes flying around the corner and says, "Elliot, get back here. Do you not remember what I said about strangers? They'll kidnap you." And at first I was like, facts, your mom is right. You gotta be careful. But then I thought about it and I was like, wait, is she implying that I would be the one doing the kidnapping? Do I just look like someone that would do that? Because she was staring at me as if I was Diddy. I didn't even initiate the conversation with the kid, but the mom still cooked me. From now on, I'm running away if you guys see me in public. What would you do if you walked into your living room and saw a random person sleeping on your couch? Because that's what happened to me today. So last night, my roommate asked me to keep the front door of our apartment unlocked because he was gonna be getting home late. But around 1 a.m., I heard the front door open and I just assumed it was him coming home. But about 30 minutes later, I went to the kitchen to grab a snack because I'm a big back. And what do I see? A random guy sleeping on the couch in our living room. Now, I've never seen this man in my life, so I nudge him trying to wake him up, but he didn't. So eventually, I just screamed, "Wake up!" And he finally did. But when he opened his eyes, he looked terrified to see me and he asked why I was in his apartment. So I was like, dude, you're in my apartment. But then he looked around and he was like, oh yeah, this isn't my couch. So he explained to me that he was super tired when he got home and he must have walked into the wrong place without knowing. Apparently his actual room was 1 floor directly below ours. I'm just glad he wasn't trying to rob me because this is how that would have gone down. Give me all your money. I have nothing. I hate growing up in Gen Z because my parents recently found out that I make videos. So my dad was reading my comment section and he saw a bunch of people commenting, oil up, oil up, oil up. So he texted me asking what that phrase meant, and I was like, how do I explain this in a way that someone over the age of 50 will understand? So I just told him it was a sarcastic joke that people say because of the Diddy situation. And I was like, yeah, people say it on everyone's videos, not just mine. Because I didn't want him to think it was weird, but it was a big mistake to tell my dad this because my mom called me the other day and she was like, yeah, ever since you told your dad what oil up means, he's been walking around the house going, oil up, oil up, oil up. But it gets worse because apparently he's not just doing this around the house, he's saying it in public. What have I done? You know how girls say, we don't wear makeup for men or we don't dress for men? I can't relate because the only times I ever try to look good is when I'm going to a place that I know may have a pretty girl. Like I went to the gym today, but I know there's only gonna be sweaty old men there, so I dressed like a bum. But the other day, I was at the airport, I had my Air Forces on, I brushed my hair, I was wearing cologne. I don't wear cologne. So if you see me looking dressed up, just know that I am doing it for the woman. No one talks about how different male friendships and female friendships are because the other day I told my mom I was going to hang out with one of my friends. So she asked which one and I said, Marcus. But she was like, wait, you and Marcus haven't hung out in like 2 years. I thought you guys weren't friends anymore. And I was like, no, we're still friends. We just don't need to see each other every day. And she was like, yeah, I get that, but it's been 2 years. She literally could not comprehend this because she was like, how can you not talk to each other for that long and still be friends? And I was like, I don't know. We just pick up right where we left off. Like, there was another time where my mom asked me what my best friend has been up to, and I was like, I don't know, we haven't talked in like 6 months. So she thought we had beef with each other or something. I was like, no, he's literally like family. We just don't need to talk every day. I feel like this is normal. Why is the way women talk so catchy? Like the other day, I was hanging out with my friend and he farted super loud, and my response was, not you farting. And right as I said that, we both looked at each other like, what just came out of your mouth? Wait, pause. Like I couldn't help it. It's just fun to talk like that. Like there was an even worse situation where we were talking about sports and he was like, Lakers have no chance this year. And my response was, girl. I could tell he just wanted to smack me as hard as he could right there. And I wouldn't blame him, but I don't know how to stop talking like this. Please help me. Why do people like ASMR? Because I just saw this ASMR video where the girl put the mic right next to her ear and she started cleaning out her earwax with a Q-tip and it had millions of views. But all the comments were saying stuff like, this scratches the perfect part of my brain. And I don't get it because all that video did for me was make me want to throw up from seeing earwax. Like how do millions of people find that satisfying? Am I the weird one for not enjoying it? Because whenever I see an ASMR video, it just makes me super uncomfortable. Like the hairs on my arm will literally stand up while watching these videos. And don't even get me started on how weird some of them are. Like what part of doing acupuncture do you find satisfying to listen to? Not every single noise needs to be turned into an ASMR video, please. One thing older people will never understand about Gen Z is how we can have two completely different conversations with each other at the same time on different apps. Because I was texting my mom on iMessage about how I just failed my math test, and she was like, Tyler, I'm so disappointed in you. But then on another app, I saw a funny video of a cat biting their owner's leg, so I sent it to my mom. And I said, this is totally something our cat would do, ha ha ha. But after I sent that, she responded by saying, are you sending me this video like you didn't just text me saying you're failing math? But like what parents don't understand is that when you're having two different conversations on different apps, they're not supposed to mix. Like I'm a completely different person texting on one app than I am on another. So when my mom brought our iMessage conversation into the DMs, it was like she broke the fourth wall. I didn't even know you could do that. Tipping is getting way out of hand. Cause tell me why the other day, I went to the doctor because I've been having a lot of knee pain recently. And the person at the front desk tells me to go wait in room 4, so I do. And I'm just sitting there alone for like 30 minutes. No one's coming to check on me. But then finally, the doctor walks in, asks what's wrong with me. I tell him it's my knee, and he literally just bends it, asks if that hurts, so I say yes. Then he goes, okay, just put an ice pack on it for 20 minutes every night and don't do any physical activity for the next week. And then you know what he does? He leaves. He was literally with me for 1.5 minutes. Didn't tell me anything useful. So I go to the front desk to pay and I swipe my card, but then the lady at the front desk goes, okay, it's just gonna ask you a quick question real quick. And when I heard that, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Because I know what that phrase means. It means they're about to beg you for a tip. So when she turned that screen around, I slammed no tip as hard as I could. Like this is a doctor's office. You make more than me, dog. I ain't tipping you. And my knee still hurts. How do you flirt? Because every time I try to do it, it just feels wrong. And I asked my friend who seems to be really good at it, and he said what always works for him is to hold eye contact with the girl and mimic her movements. So I was like, okay, I think I can do that. But the next time I was in a situation where I wanted to flirt with the girl, I tried doing the tips he gave me, but I don't think it worked because the girl was sitting with her hand like this. So I was like, okay, mimic her movement. And I started doing it, but then she looked at me like, why are you doing that? So I put my hand down and I was like, okay, let's try the eye contact thing. But I focused so much on maintaining eye contact that I looked like I was just staring right through her soul. I was literally like, yeah. So that definitely was a failure. Like the only people I actually know how to flirt with is the homies. I can do that all day. If you ever want to know whether a couple will break up or not, there's a super easy way to tell. All you have to do is look at how they reject people that try flirting with them. Because I've seen girls that were in relationships before that would have guys come up to them and flirt, and they would literally respond by being like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but I have a boyfriend. You're sorry? If I was dating a girl and she said that she was sorry she was dating me, I'd cry. She's basically saying she wishes she could flirt back, but she can't. Now, if it's a couple that isn't gonna break up, the girl will react to being flirted with like this.
Hey girl, do you think I could get your phone number?
And this goes for guys too, because I've seen guys get flirted with. Must be nice. But anyways, they would react by being like this.
Hey, I think you're really cute and...
No, I have girlfriend! If you text me and I don't respond right away, just know it's not because I was busy. I definitely saw the text within 3 seconds of you sending it. But in my head, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just respond to that later. And then I end up forgetting about it for like 6 days. Like one time, someone texted me asking if I could pick them up from the airport, and I read it right when they sent it. But I forgot to respond for like 4 days. So finally, when I remembered, I texted them saying, hey, I can still pick you up if you need me to. And they were like, dude, that was 3 days ago. So I was like, oh, well, did you at least end up getting a ride home? And they were like, no, I had to Uber. I felt so bad. I don't know why I do this, but I can't stop. This is your warning to always put a password on your phone. Because I knew this guy that was in a relationship, but his girlfriend did not trust him at all. So one day, he went to work out, but he forgot his phone and he doesn't have a passcode on it. So when his girlfriend saw this, she took his phone, but she didn't check to see if he was talking to any other girls. Instead, she put her phone case on his phone, then she changed his screensaver to the one on her phone, and finally, she moved all his apps around to make it look exactly like her phone. And you know why she did this? She did it so when he got home, she could go through her phone and he wouldn't think anything of it because it just looked like it was her phone. I guess looking through it while he was at the gym just wasn't enough. But I don't get it. Why would you not trust your boyfriend if he doesn't have a passcode? That man clearly has nothing to hide at that point.
Have you ever met a guy that's a little too close with his mom? Because I had this one friend and I used to think his mom was pretty normal until the day he got his first girlfriend. Because he brought her over to his house to introduce her to his mom, and he brought me too because he was worried it would be awkward. And it was. Because when we got there, we walked through the front door and his mom comes around the corner super quickly saying, hi. But then she saw the girl and her smile immediately went away. It was like this, hi. So at first, I was just thinking the mom didn't like something about the girl's appearance, but I quickly realized that it was much more than that. Because when this girl got even remotely close to my friend, his mom started acting like an offensive lineman the way she was protecting him. Like he said a joke and the girl started laughing, so the mom immediately ran right in between them just to get her hand off of his shoulder. So the girl ended up leaving, and my friend could tell that his mom was acting weird too, so he just straight up asked her. He said, Mom, why were you acting so weird? And she was like, I wasn't acting weird. I just don't want her taking my son away from me. Dog, you sound like the mom from the movie Waterboy. Let the man live.
If you want to impress a girl, do not pretend to have an accent, because I did that once and it went horribly. So I go to the same coffee shop every day, and one day I see a pretty girl walk in, perfect hair, perfect teeth. I'm thinking, this is my future wife. And she's there with a friend, and they're just talking like girls do, and I'm trying to listen to the conversation so I can think of something smart to approach her with. And I hear her mention how she thinks British accents are so attractive. Bingo, there's my shot. So I'm thinking, I'm gonna go up to her and pretend that I have a British accent and she's gonna fall in love, right? It sounds like a great plan in theory, but the only problem is, I've never practiced a British accent before, so I just walk up to her cold turkey, and the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, hello. Yeah, just like that. Hello. Dog, I don't even know if that is British. I was just trying to do my best Millie Bobby Brown impression because I know she's British. And the accent was so incredibly bad that these two girls just look at each other and start laughing. And I could tell they were laughing at me, not with me. So I just left. I don't know what I was thinking either, because if the accent somehow did work and she started to like me, at some point in the relationship, I was gonna have to admit to her that I'm not British. So it was just a stupid idea in general. But now I'm too scared to go back to my favorite coffee shop because I don't want to see them there. Why am I like this? Never act on your intrusive thoughts, because my brother just had a baby, but the day it was born, he asked me if I wanted to hold it. So I said yes and was super excited, but the moment I picked up that baby, the first thought in my brain was, I wonder how far I could throw it. So immediately I told my brother to take the baby back, but he asked why, and I couldn't tell him the real reason, so he was like, you just started holding him. Hold him for a little while longer. So now I was freaking out because the intrusive thoughts fully kicked in. But while I'm still holding the baby, my sister-in-law goes, it's getting pretty hot in here. Can we open a window? And before I say this next part, just know that we are on the 8th floor of the hospital. But anyways, the nurse opens the window, and this was the worst possible thing she could have done, because right when she did it, my next thought was, throw the baby out the window, throw the baby out the window, throw the baby out the window. Like, what is wrong wrong with me?
Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is to be the last kid picked up from school. Because at my old school, the teacher wasn't allowed to leave until every student got picked up. But my mom would literally take 3 hours to get me sometimes. So there were days where it would literally be getting dark and it would just be me and the teacher. Literally no one else was left at school. And I could tell the teacher was just so annoyed with me because she wanted to go home already. Like, I remember one time, the teacher got so tired of waiting that she asked if I was gonna get my driver's license soon. I was like, well, considering the fact that I'm 11, probably not. Eventually, the teacher realized she was gonna have to stay late every single day because of me, so she just started learning how to knit to pass the time. I was even shivering after school one day, and she gave me a blanket that she knit herself. We low-key kind of became homies. She definitely hated me though. Why do couples give each other such weird nicknames? Because there was this couple in my school that first met in our math class, but unfortunately, I sat at the same table as them, so I heard all their conversations. And I am not kidding you when I say the names they called each other made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up from how cringy they were. Like, in the beginning, they were still getting comfortable with each other, so they would just use normal nicknames like baby or honey, which isn't weird at all. But as the relationship progressed, they seemed to get more comfortable and they got tired of using those generic nicknames, because one day I pull up to class and the guy is like, "How is my honey barbecue sauce doing?" And the girl responds by saying, "I'm good, my lobster butter." Like, at this point, are y'all even calling each other nicknames, or are you just really hungry? I was about to just be like, "Hey, Big Mac, can I borrow a pencil?" Now, am I just hating because I'm single? Yeah.
Never let your parents see your browsing history. Because one time, I was trying to find this song that I couldn't remember the title of, so I typed the only lyrics I remembered into Google. But these lyrics happened to be very weird, and this is how they went. "If you was my sister, then I would kiss you." And I made the mistake of not clearing out my browsing history once I found the song, because a couple days later, my mom asked if she could look something up on my computer, so I let her. And right as she typed the letter I into Google, it showed my previous search, which was, "If you were my sister, I would kiss you." So when she saw this, she was like, "Tyler, why would you Google this?" And I was like, "Mom, it's not what it looks like. I can explain." But then she goes, "Actually, you know what? Don't even tell me. I don't want to know." But I was like, "Mom, no, I promise it's not as weird as it sounds." But I could tell she didn't believe me. So now I'm pretty sure that she thinks I want to kiss my sister, and I don't even have one. Why do old people not get embarrassed about anything? Like, even things that they should get embarrassed about, they don't. Because my friend had a grandpa named Jim who lived with him, and the things Jim did without getting embarrassed amazed me. Like, one time we went to go eat, and we're at our table, and the waitress walks up to us, super nice girl, by the way, and she says, "Hey, how are we all doing tonight?" And without even answering the question, Grandpa Jim goes, "Your breath is horrible. Take a mint." And he pulls out a pack of mints out of his pocket. Obviously, she declined the mint, but after she went away, Grandpa Jim's daughter was like, "Dad, why did you say that?" And he goes, "Because her breath smelled horrible." I mean, yeah, that checks out, I guess. But Grandpa Jim was really old, so sometimes he would just pee his pants, but his family would question whether he did it on accident or on purpose, because when he did it, he would literally have no reaction. Like, you could be staring at him and see his pants just slowly start to get darker, and he would just be unfazed. Honestly though, Grandpa Jim was an inspiration to me because he made me aspire to be as unbothered about life as he was. Still feel bad for that waitress though. Never wear headphones in public, because I just got these yesterday, so I wanted to test them out and listen to music while I was at the library studying. So that's what I did. I went to the library, I put these headphones on, and I pressed a button on them, which made a noise. So I thought that meant that these connected to my phone. So to test out the sound on them, I wanted to play music. So I opened my music app and I typed in the first artist I could think of, which was Justin Bieber. And I click on the first song that pops up, which was Baby. So I start listening to the song and I'm thinking, man, these do not sound very good. So I was like, well, maybe I just need to turn it up louder. So I did, but the quality was still bad. So then I was thinking, well, maybe it's just that specific song. So let's try playing another song on these and see if it sounds better. So I pressed the next song and it was Boyfriend by Justin Bieber. But that song also kind of sounded weird on these headphones. So at that point I was like, okay, well, I guess these just aren't good quality. And I took them off. And that was when I realized that this whole time, the headphones were not even connected to the phone. The music was just playing out loud. And I look around the library and every time I make eye contact with someone, they just look away quickly. So I know they were looking at me. And listen, I think Bieber is a good artist, but bumping Baby and Boyfriend in the library is not something I would normally do. So I'm never going back to that library, but hey, at least these headphones aren't as bad as I thought. Have you ever had a friend who was in a toxic relationship but didn't even realize it? Because I used to know someone who was dating a girl and they were both equally toxic because they used to track each other's location, and that sounds normal for a couple, but they took it to the next level. Because one time, the guy was at a house in a location that the girl didn't recognize, so instead of just texting him saying, hey, whose house are you at? She decided to drive over to the house and knock on the door. And guess who answered? Her boyfriend. and the rest of his family, because it turns out that was his grandma's house. But why was he at his grandma's house, you ask? He was there because her grandma wanted to break the news to the whole family that her doctor just told her that she only has 6 months left. You should have just called him. But the reason I say they were equally toxic was because when they were together, this man acted like he had the nuclear launch codes on his phone the way he wouldn't let his girl see it. Anytime she ever tried to move her hand anywhere near his phone, he swiped away the phone like he was the Flash. So I don't know exactly what was on that phone, but that man was not innocent. And the sad part is, when they were in this relationship, they didn't even realize it was toxic until it was over. So honestly, this is why I stay out of relationships. And I'm scared to talk to women. Rich people will always try to make it seem like they aren't wealthy, because I went to school with a guy who would wear the same thing every day. A black t-shirt with jeans. Nothing special, right? Well, one day we're in class and he's eating blueberries, but he drops one onto his shirt and stains it. So he immediately pulls out his phone, goes online and buys a new black shirt. But you know how much the shirt was? $900. It was a plain black Prada t-shirt. What's the point of spending that much money on a plain t-shirt? I could get one that looks the exact same from Walmart for 40 quarters. But this isn't surprising, because this is the same guy who brought a water bottle to school every day from a company called Berg. But he's the only person I've ever seen drink this water. So I Google it, and guess what? It's $45 per bottle. Apparently, it comes straight from the icebergs of Greenland. Dog, mine just comes straight from the tap. I want to be rich so bad. I dropped my phone on the ground and it cracked the camera. So for some reason now, every time I record, if something goes across the screen too quickly, then it like glitches out. Here, I'll show you. What? It didn't work that time, so now I just look like an idiot. I'm gonna do it again. I'll prove it to you that it happens, I swear. Why is it not doing it now? One more time, it's gonna happen. Come on, man. My phone is gaslighting me! What do you say after kissing somebody? Like, kissing somebody for the first time is already so awkward, and the only thing I can think of to say is thank you, because I appreciate that they wanted to kiss me. But I know that if I said that, I would never get a second kiss. I asked someone I know who kisses a new person like every single day what I should say after kissing someone, and he was just like, just say whatever feels right. By the way, stay away from that man, ladies. But anyways, in my head, what feels right is to try to break the awkwardness of the kiss by saying something funny. So next time after a kiss, I'm gonna just be like this. You kiss way better than my sister. Is that a good idea? No? Okay. I mean, luckily this isn't a big problem for me anyways, because to actually kiss a woman, you have to approach them, and I'm scared to do that. But if that time ever does come, I'm cooked. Why are school nurses so bad at their job? Like, there's no way they are actual nurses, because I remember one time at recess, me and a couple other kids were playing on the playground, and one kid fell off the bars and his arm bent the wrong way. So you could literally see his bone sticking out of his arm, and the kid started screaming. So me and another guy took him to the office. And when we got there, you know what the nurse did? She was like, okay, wait, let me get something for you. And she walks into the room next door and comes back with an ice pack and says, here, use this. What do you mean use this? My guy's bone was sticking out of his arm and you want him to put an ice pack on that? Not every injury can be solved with an ice pack, Gretchen. This man needs to have surgery. Call a real hospital. Doc McStuffins would be doing a better job than you at this point. And I'm sure that not all school nurses were like this, but at least at my school, the nurse would literally give an ice pack for every injury. Oh, you have a headache? Here's an ice pack. Oh, your stomach hurts? Here's an ice pack. Oh, your humerus is sticking out of your arm? Here's an ice pack.
Nobody talks about how much worse pick-me boys are than pick-me girls. Cause I hear people all the time roast girls for being pick-me's, but boys are way worse. Cause I went to school with a pick-me guy and we sat next to each other in class. But there was also 2 other girls at our table and he would always try flirting with them. And they didn't really seem interested in him, but this kid was bold. So he would straight up just be like, do any of you guys want to give me your number? And when they would politely decline, he would be like, yeah, I get it. I'm probably just too ugly, huh? But the very worst pick-me thing he ever did was when he brought a book to school and during all of lunch, he looked like he was reading it. So I asked him what the book was about and he said he didn't know. He just pretended to read the book hoping that girls would notice him. I respect it though. Game is game.
Have you ever noticed that Gen Z is aging horribly? And I have proof because I was just at Popeyes and I walk up to the cashier to tell them my order and I'm trying to be polite, so I say, hey, how are you doing? And they respond with, not good, I hate this job. I didn't expect them to answer it truthfully, but since they did, I was like, oh, well, why do you not like it? And he said, does anyone like their job? But he looked pretty old, so I was trying to think of a way to cheer him up. So I was like, oh, well, are you at least retiring anytime soon? And he gives me a weird look and goes, how old do you think I am? I knew by his reaction that I messed up asking that question, so I didn't want to answer, so I was just like, I don't know, how old are you? And he goes, I'm 26. Dog, I thought he was at least 50. I was about to ask him what it was like when Abraham Lincoln was president. Meanwhile, this guy is barely old enough to rent a car. But it's not just this guy. I've seen so many people under the age of 30 that look like they grew up with Queen Elizabeth. Why does everyone in this generation look so old? What are we gonna look like when we're actually 50?
Seeing someone you know in public has to be the most terrifying experience ever because you never know what to do. Like, are you supposed to approach them and have a conversation, or do you just ignore them? Because I was at the store the other day, and as I'm shopping, I hear this laugh come from a couple aisles down that sent chills down my spine because I could recognize that laugh from anywhere. It was a girl I went to school with, but this wasn't just any normal girl, no. She was the type of girl that would literally hiss at people she didn't like. So I knew she was in the store, but I didn't know exactly where. So the rest of the time I'm shopping, I was acting like a spy creeping around the aisles just trying to make sure she didn't see me. I even put my hair down like this just so if she did see me, hopefully she wouldn't recognize me. I almost just considered not getting my groceries and going back another day. Honestly, I'm just low-key terrified of people.
Why do I look so different in pictures compared to real life? Because I don't think I'm bad looking, but when someone takes a picture of me, I'll look at it and be like, oh, I thought you were taking a photo of me. Not Jabba the Hutt. But it makes no sense because I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, okay, this is what I look like. But if I don't move and take a picture in that exact same spot, I don't recognize myself. And the worst part is, if my friend takes a picture of me and I say how I look ugly in it and it doesn't look anything like me, they'll be like, what do you mean? That's what you always look like. What? You're telling me my face always looks like something a third grader would draw with their non-dominant hand? That doesn't make me feel better. And for some reason, I look completely different in all the app's cameras. So I know it's not just my brain playing tricks on me. I just don't know which app shows the real me in the camera. For all you guys know, I don't even look like this in real life. This is your warning to never be friends with someone who uses an Android. Because everyone in my friend group has an iPhone except for one person. But one of my friends recently proposed to his girlfriend. And the Android user was there when it happened because his one job was to record the proposal. So he did, but when he tried to send the video to the friend that proposed, it looked like it was recorded on a microwave with how pixelated it was. Like you couldn't even tell whether the girl said yes or not. The first time I saw the video, I thought I was watching a proposal in Minecraft. But this isn't the only time his Android has hurt our friend group because whenever we're all on a FaceTime call, my Android friend will get mad because he doesn't have FaceTime and he'll be like, guys, can we all just talk on Zoom so I can join too? Dog, this is not third period English. We are not using Zoom to FaceTime. Don't even get me started on him turning our text messages green. Talking to Gen Alpha kids will make you believe that the next generation is doomed. Because last weekend, I decided to help my friend coach a youth baseball team with kids that are 10 to 12 years old. And my friend warned me about how these kids acted, but I was like, they're 10. How hard can it be? But I regret saying that now because I arrived to the game and immediately one kid got there late, so the coach asked him why he wasn't on time. But before he could answer, one of his teammates responded by saying, he was doing the 3 a.m. challenge with Livy Dunn. I immediately felt like I lost brain cells after hearing that sentence, but this is how they talk the whole time. They would only speak in brain rot terms. Luckily, I'm chronically online, so I know some brain rot too. So to get them to be quiet, I told them we were gonna have a mewing challenge just so I could get them to keep their mouths shut. That was the only thing that actually worked. And we were supposed to have flying cars by now.